Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and to another fur tutorial video where we're going to be looking at golden fur. This is one that a lot of you have asked for before, so I'm glad to be adding this to this short fur series on YouTube. If you do want to follow along in real time with the full length video, then you can subscribe via my website. I've actually got a new subscription service launching called the Fur Foundation Library for £5 per month over on my website. That's launching Monday, and you can also access this via Patreon as well. I'm going to leave the links to everything in the description below for you guys. Although if you want to sign up to Patreon, I would wait until Monday to do that because it's the first of the month. Anyway, let's get into this tutorial, and the first thing we're doing is going in with a light base. You can kind of see the colour palette that I've got going on. I've got some ivory, some light flesh, some orange tones, and then I've also got some purple in there as well. So we're just adding down the ivory first, making sure that we're following the fur direction. Now, I'm not going to be covering any kind of techniques or anything. I'm just going to be glossing over a few of the colours and everything used for this. The techniques and everything that I'm using, you can find those in other videos on my YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link to the Fur Library playlist in the description below. And again, you can also subscribe to all of my subscription services for full-length, in-depth tutorials on all the different textures and everything. So once you've got that initial base down, we're then going in with a light flesh. Now the combination of the ivory and the light flesh actually creates a really nice light apricot tone. I love combining these two colours together. They work really well, especially as an undertone for golden fur like this, and also for yellow fur, cream fur, all of those kinds of furs that incorporate a little bit of yellow. Light flesh is a really good one to add. And the technique I'm using here is just light pressure. I'm just shading back and forth really lightly and gradually building in some of the darker areas with this colour as well. You can also use something like cinnamon or a slightly darker shade of those kind of fleshy tones. They work just as well, but I like to use light flesh and then ever so slowly build. I always like to use those lighter colours and build to the darker colours. Once I've added in the darker areas of the fur with that colour, I'm then working my way through the tones, going in with some burnt ochre, and again just going into the darker areas and kind of blending out into the lighter areas as well, just by lifting the pressure off the pencil. At this stage, I'm not really going in with any fur lines or anything like that. It's literally just shading. Shading the initial layers like this just helps to build the depth, and it gives your paper a really nice structure and surface for you to work your further fur layers on top of. So if you go straight in with fur lines on your base layers, you're going to find that you're going to have gaps in between that's going to just be paper white. So by adding in some shading before you start adding in those fur strokes, you kind of fill the tooth of the paper, and then any gaps that you do end up creating with your fur lines over the top, you've already got some colour peeping through underneath, and you're not just going to end up with that paper white and it's going to look really weird. So that's what I like to do with the base layers. That's what they're initially there for. As you can see on this small study, I'm just going in with some of the lighter colours and blending the burnt ochre out a little bit, so using some of the ivory and then some light flesh once again, and going into the darker areas, just making sure that everything is really nice and blended. You can see that the tone of the fur has this really lovely apricot colour, but it's also got some yellow showing through, and that's from the ivory. I'm going in again with some burnt ochre, and this time instead of shading, I'm going in with those fur lines, so really starting to build that fur structure. The golden fur that I was working on here was actually from a golden retriever, like one of those really kind of almost red gold colour retrievers. And yeah, he just had the most beautiful colouring, so I've got some burnt ochre going in here, so kind of building more of an orange golden colour. If you had a bit more of a yellow golden colour, then you could omit the orange tones and you could go in with some more Naples yellow, some more of those kind of natural looking yellows, and then you could also highlight and make them a lot more vibrant by adding in some of the brighter yellows as well. But for this particular one, I've actually gone in with a few more oranges than you may have considered for golden fur, and I think it actually gives a really nice effect. With the burnt ochre, I'm also going into the darker areas and just increasing the pressure on the pencil and creating this patch of darker fur, and then where you've got the lighter fur surrounding, I'm just lifting the pressure off the pencil and helping to blend that out, and also grouping the fur lines a little bit further apart in those lighter areas and grouping them really close together in the darker areas to create that darker concentration of colour. The fur for this particular study that I'm working from here as well had quite short fur, so I'm using some really short fur lines and just building those on top of one another in the fur direction. It's always important to remember to follow the fur direction, and that's also where the base layers come in handy as well, because they can help depict your fur direction, so you don't have to continue to think about what direction is what as you build up your layers. I'm going in with some dark chrome yellow and blending a little bit with the light flesh as well. So that dark chrome yellow, although it is quite a bright colour, it just really helps to accent those yellow tones and really bring across that golden colour. And that's what I'm using, the dark chrome yellow. I'm also using some Naples ochre to do the same thing, just really enhance those yellow tones, just trying to really balance out the yellow and the orange in the study here. After I've used these colours, I then go in with some slightly darker oranges and some burnt sienna. So the darker colours in this particular type of fur, you don't want to use them too much, because if you add in too many dark fur lines, you're going to end up with some dark looking fur. So with your darker colours, you want to keep your fur lines really sporadic and really spaced out, and you don't want to put too much pressure through your pencil either. You want to keep a nice light pressure, keep those lines really spaced out, and it will just help to create that very small element of shadow between some of those fur lines. So you don't want to build in that dark colour, so avoid grouping your fur lines really close together. You'll also notice that I've added in a colour of purple here, and I've mentioned this previously on my channel before, that purple really works nicely with orange and yellow and really enhances them and makes them a lot more vibrant. So where we've added some burnt sienna or some darker colours into the sort of shadowy darker areas of the fur, I'm also adding in some of that purple. So you can choose any kind of purple you like, you don't have to go with a manganese violet or anything like that. I've chosen the manganese violet because it's got that warmer undertone which really complements this particular colour set, because they're nice warm tones. But if you had some slightly cooler oranges, perhaps you decided to use, I don't know, some cadmium orange, which is slightly cooler, then you could pair it with like a violet, which is also a cooler purple. Those would work really nice together. So consider the tones, the warm or cool variety of your shades of colours that you're choosing, and then choose an appropriate kind of accenting colour like the purple. So the purple really helps to add some vibrancy to the fur, and it's a really good colour to add to the shadows, because again it helps to really make them pop, and it just adds another little extra element of colour in there that you may not have necessarily considered. It just makes the oranges stand out really nicely. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for this short tutorial. I really hope that this has helped you, and as I mentioned at the beginning, if you want in-depth tutorials, make sure you pop along to any of the links in the description, sign up to one of them, and you can get access to real-time videos for fur as well as for wildlife and everything as well. So yeah, hope this has helped you, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye!
Girl, I can tell that you have something on your mind, but I will make you forget all your sorrows. Let go like there's no tomorrow. Let's have a drink, just relax, all your problems will fade if you